This is the Wing Woman Show. Are you ready?
You're listening to The Wing Woman Show, and this is your host, Morgan Bars. Today on the podcast, we are welcoming Rose Wainwright of Academy Insurance, based here in St. Pete, Florida. Rose is an incredible business owner here in our local community. So without further ado, let's dive into today's episode with Rose. So walk us back to the very beginning, when you started pursuing a career in insurance.
Oh, wow. Well, I was 17 and I was working for a company doing sales, and I did very well, but it was a temporary position. And so I answered an ad at State Farm for a sales position. Had no experience in insurance, and I got the job. And the woman that ran the agency became my mentor, without a doubt. And she, got me licensed and showed me the ropes and really held my hand for a couple of years getting familiar. Fortunately, it was State Farm, so you're only really learning one company, one product, which made it a lot easier. I couldn't imagine going into the broker world.
Right.
But that's how I got started, and 30 years later, here I am.
Yeah, and I find it so interesting too, because insurance isn't something that is people even think about going into. It's like one of those things that I feel like is like almost like an afterthought that people fall into. So that's why I feel like your story leading into things is so interesting.
Yeah, I mean, yes, I would have never thought my career would have been insurance. And I think some people, I didn't even know there was really a degree that led you to insurance until probably 10 years ago. It's a risk management degree, which is beneficial for sure. But, you can get into insurance by just doing a state licensing and coursework. But if you love sales, it's a great line of work to be in, because it's mandatory for the most part and recession proof, and it's a lot more interesting than your regular average consumer would think. It really is.
So what inspired you though to move from underneath State Farm into starting your own business and starting Academy Insurance?
Well, so with State Farm, you are captive. And so when I moved down here with State Farm, it was shortly after Andrew had blown through.
Mm-hmm.
And a few years later, bankrupted State Farm for Florida anyway. And so it was really hard answering the phone, hearing people upset that their policy after 30 years is being canceled or non-renewed. And then not being able to do what I love to do, which is sell, because there was no products to sell. So I ventured into the broker world. That just opened my eyes to working with so many companies and, all different kinds of coverages. And then just realizing that I can make somebody else all of this money, or I can make me all of this money. And that's the thing with, any kind of commission position, if you bounce around, you build your commission, then you leave and you start brand new again.
Mm-hmm.
You can't take it with you. So, it's either stay with a company for the long term, build your book and stick it out, or, go start your own agency. And that way, everything that you are building stays with you.
Yeah, see, that's a good point, because I feel like for some people it's very intimidating to kind of bounce around, even if it is a better opportunity somewhere else. So like specifically for you, going from somewhere where you were very secure and under like a well-known name to starting your own, like that's a huge step to make.
Yes, it was. And it was a huge pay cut, because obviously you don't have the cushion of income coming in, but, you grow. And if you've been in the industry and you have contacts, and people that are referring you business, you're still going to write that same amount of policies, just maybe at the beginning, the first couple of years might be a little tough going.
Right. What would you say is the most misconceived part of the insurance industry as a whole?
Just that it's probably boring. And
Right.
it's a lot less detail than what you would expect. I will say that I've hired people that are pretty green to the industry, gotten them licensed, and they had no
Mhm.
clue all that's involved in this industry. And I think that's the biggest misconception is you think, okay, it's an insurance policy and it's sales and it's easy. And so many people I see go into it, they just don't even know what they're getting into.
Right. Well, and since I know you personally too, since you're engaged to my dad, this is one of the topics that my dad wanted me to bring up because he said he loves to hear you talk about it. Because we both know he's going to be listening to this episode, but he mentioned about how you can, when it comes to like when new business owners come into your office, you can really tell the difference between the ones that are going to succeed and the ones that aren't because of the way that they cover their businesses. So can you kind of like dive into that a little bit?
Yeah, so, I have a lot of examples. I have a lot of, one man guys that want to start up their landscaping or a move-in business
Mm-hmm.
or, they flip homes or something. And the ones that have come in and they do it right, they insure the properties correctly. They cover themselves for liability. It's not just really, let me get what I need, the bare bones minimum. One client in particular, he came in and his industry, which was a moving industry, is one of the highest cost because of the exposure and the liability. And he paid an arm and a leg for insurance. This guy was barely scraping by. And he is now a very successful multi-million dollar company. And I see when the people come in and start and they just kind of skimp through, they just fizzle out over a couple of years,
Mm-hmm.
maybe a year or two, they fizzle out. But the ones that come in, they insure it properly, they protect themselves, they set up their business properly, they seem to be the ones that flourish and are still around today.
Yeah, so a majority of our listeners are personal brands or they're like one woman shows, running their own businesses. So what kind of insurance do maybe people like them, they don't think about needing that kind of insurance, but what kind of recommendations do you have for them?
Professional liability for sure. And it's funny because social media and brand consultants have become such a big thing. They actually have that as a class code now within
Wow.
the insurance industry. Professional liability is not expensive. You can buy a million, 2 million in coverage for maybe $300 a year.
Wow.
And and that kind of protects you like us. Your work is your words. So you direct people to do things or go in a certain direction or present a certain way. And whether intentional or unintentional, you could cause them harm. So let's say another branding person says that you've infringed upon my look or my colors or my logo or my verbiage. That's all words and that's all actions. And so really like an errors and omissions policy, professional liability to cover what you say and what you do. And we carry that ourselves because
Mm-hmm.
if you write a policy and we write it wrong, we're going to be held liable for that. So they have policies now for brand consultants, social
Wow.
media, web designers. And that would be the main thing is doing the professional liability to protect you in the event that, somebody comes back to you and says, you're the one who created this or put me in that direction.
Yeah, I remember the first time you told me about that, and I had no idea because when I think of insurance, I think of obviously like car insurance or insurance for like those bigger assets, but I never thought about insurance in that way.
Yeah, I mean, liability is really, it's one of the biggest claims we see is liability lawsuits. If you're home between 9 and 5, the majority of the commercials are attorneys saying sue. And so, typically when something happens, people look to others to find fault to see if
Hmm.
they can recoup their expenses or place blame on them. And liability insurance is not that expensive and it's just that added layer of protection.
Right. So, what would you say has been the most exciting part of your job as just in insurance in general? Like, what has been the most exciting thing for you?
Just meeting people, you're always meeting people all the time and seeing them grow.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I have clients that have been with me over 10 years, and so I've seen them through their kids and through college and through cars and very high insurance premiums and starting businesses, and everything. And that part I love. My clients are definitely more than just, a name on a policy. I feel like I
Right.
know them. I know, everything there is to know about them, because you kind of have to know their financials, their exposures, when you are insuring usually their most expensive asset, which is
Mm-hmm.
their homes, their businesses, and for some, even your cars.
Right. Well, and
So
that's
that
like the
part I
best
love.
part about you too, and about going through you, is that you're like based in the local community too. And so I feel like that would be the best part, is to see everyone grow
Yeah.
and just to make that connection with them.
Yes, yeah, I love it. I love to see, and and like I said, with those businesses where they come in and they start up and they're literally scrimping. Is there anything you can do for my premium? And you're trying to do everything you can to kind of give them just the bare bones that they need, but
Right.
also you as a professional, you seeing claims that come in, you want to protect them. And really, people don't know a lot about insurance, so they are coming to you to say, hey, what do I need? And they put a lot of trust in us that we know what we're doing and that we're going to do it properly, and at the same time get them the best rate. And so when you see companies or guys like that, or girls, and they're starting up their business, and
Mm-hmm.
next thing you know, they're just growing and growing, and your policies can grow with you. They can start
Right.
small and grow with you, but that is without a doubt the best part.
Yeah, yeah.
One of my favorite clients came in from Canada. He owns some retail stores, and he was an investor who was going to flip properties. I've seen those for years, and he has grown into a multi-million dollar client. He owns 4 or 5 businesses. He owns probably 7 different LLCs with
Wow.
20 properties under each one. So it's really neat to see them grow.
Yeah, and I feel like it gives you the opportunity to still be around all these different industries and be involved in all their cool projects, but yet you're still like in your little zone of genius over there.
That's right.
That's
Yeah,
like the best part. That's
yeah,
that's why I love like doing what I do, because I love like launching the books and launching the products, but like yeah, at the end of the day, I'm still doing like what I am the best at. That's
right.
like that's the best, like when you wake up every day and that's what you do, it makes it so
Yes,
fun.
it does. You are right there with them for their growth and their successes,
Mhm.
but you can still stay in your little bubble and do what you do.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So what would you say has been the lowest point of your career?
Oh, lowest point of my career. I would say back when, Katrina hit. I mean,
Mhm.
I had just moved here. I actually had a transfer to Florida, and it was back before cell phones. And so I sold my house and I moved down here, and they had a hiring freeze. And I didn't know it. I didn't know
Mhm.
that, Hurricane Andrew had done what it had done. So I ventured off and worked in the hospitality industry, which I had never done, but I needed to work. And so that was probably my lowest point in my career path, not necessarily in this industry, but just not being
Mhm.
able to get into the industry. But other than that, I can't say there's been any real low points. It's maybe starting my own business and just struggling away as a single mom with 2 kids. And
Mhm.
but even then, like I think that if you have enough drive, you're gonna make it
Oh
work.
yeah. I'm glad you brought that up, like as you were transitioning into the industry, because I feel like for me and for other people around me too, and just from doing these interviews, I've noticed that when people start to pursue something that ultimately they're going to be doing for like the rest of their career, there's always that period of time that they go through, that
Yeah,
transition period that is so uncomfortable that almost pushes you back in the other direction. And
Yeah.
like, I especially see it with my assistant now because she's still trying to figure out like what her career path looks like. And it's just so interesting to kind of start, like, for me, I'm like becoming on the other side of it. So it's
Yeah.
so interesting to see that process.
Yes, and you want to tell them, keep just push through the tough times,
Mm-hmm.
because it will pay off. Hard work does pay off, and it will take a lot of late nights and juggling a million things and pulling your
Mm-hmm.
hair out. But in the end, it will pay off. Especially if you're doing your own business. I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot to do
Mm-hmm.
on your own. So take the help where you can get it and learn as much as you can, and just keep pushing through those hard times.
Yeah. So what is the most exciting thing that is coming for you in the next couple of years? Like whether it's a personal thing or something, a big goal for your business?
Well, we know one personal
Oh,
thing
yes, we
coming.
did. For those of you listening, Rose and my dad would like to live on a houseboat. Which I feel like is like, it's such a unique thing, but I don't know anyone else who wants to live on a houseboat except for you. So at least I'll have someone on a houseboat to come and visit.
Yes, you can cruise over to the Bahamas with us, or we'll
Yes.
pick you up in the Keys. Yeah,
Yeah.
that would be an ultimate dream. Maybe one day down the road, I'll sit out on my deck of my boat with my laptop and do my insurance world everywhere.
Oh my God.
Um, So I don't know. I mean, for me, obviously growth, we're always looking
Mhm.
for growth, and I went from having a lot to scaling back, which
Mhm.
I really needed to. I was at a point in my life where it was just too much. It was,
Mhm.
juggling too much. So I did scale back. So now I'm looking to grow, but not to the extent where I just don't have a minute to breathe.
Yeah,
Uh,
see, that's a good point to bring up too, that you were like so intuitive enough to like sacrifice the success of your business because you are such a like a career driven person. So to be able to kind of like loosen the reins on that and
yeah.
do what's best for you, like I feel like that's a big deal.
Yeah, I've always been really good when I leave work, I leave it. Like that, yeah,
Mhm.
if I come into the office over the weekend, I'm here for the time that I'm here, and when I lock that door and leave, I'm done.
Mhm.
Um, but when your business is to the point where it's just literally all consuming, then you've got to, after a while, you've got to take a step back and say, okay, maybe I can loosen my, lighten my
Mhm.
load, and regain a little bit of me time back.
Yeah, yeah. So how do you kind of incorporate that now? Because now since you have scaled back, like how do you still incorporate that rest and recharge into your like monthly schedule?
Well, I mean, I work a lot of late nights, but
Mm-hmm.
again, when I'm off, I'm off.
You just, yeah, you flip the switch.
I flip the switch. It's very rare that I answer my cell phone. My friends will tell you all the time that you never answer the phone. And really it's because I'm on the phone all the time. When I get done, like that's me time, that's
Mm-hmm.
downtime. And, over the weekend, take a lot of vacations, a little mini weekend vacations, just to kind of keep the sanity.
Yeah, no, that's great. So where can our listeners connect with you best online?
Probably like through Facebook or
Okay.
Instagram, or even, via the website.
Okay, perfect. And I'll make sure to link it down below so that everyone listening can click right through.